I'm Nate McGaha, Executive Director of Arts North Carolina, and this video is about the basics of how to have meetings with elected representatives. So the first thing you want to do is make sure that you're prepared for the meeting, and you could be having the meeting in person or via video or on the telephone. So there's several things you want to think about as you're getting ready. First, for a video, make sure that you've got a stable internet connection and ample lighting, because we know that if we're having a face-to-face meeting, you want to be able to see the other individual's face. So make sure that you can be well seen in your video camera for your computer. Also for your clothing and of course your background, if you're going to be doing a video conference, should be appropriate and presentable. You don't necessarily have to wear a full business attire or suit and tie, but you should always come to a meeting looking a little nicer than leisure wear or workout clothes. And also make sure that you know the material and that you have a plan about how you want to approach that conversation, and make sure you have those materials and information available for both you and the legislator. So once you're at the meeting, you want to, of course, start with a warm greeting and express some gratitude for the time that they've taken to have this conversation with you. Being an elected representative is not easy work, and it can often be rather thankless. So being grateful for their time and effort is always a great way to start off. Make sure that you share stories, whether or not it's your personal story about the arts or a story that you might know in your community or within your organization that helps to illustrate the point that you're trying to make about the value of the arts. But then also educate and explain by providing data and information that puts that story into context. So you might be telling a story about one person, but you can show data to show that the arts program that you're talking about actually reaches many people. So it takes that one story and it turns it into a story for all. And that really helps to contextualize for the legislator how the investment in the arts is going to help the entire community and more of their constituents. And of course, the most important thing is making sure that you know what you're there to ask for. What is the request? Is it a policy action? Is it a funding request? What is the action that you're asking the legislature to take? Even if it's, let's continue this conversation later. Can I schedule a follow-up meeting? But make sure that you're making a request. And when you're having this conversation, remember, this is a conversation, not a presentation. So yes, you are giving the legislator a lot of information, and you're there to share stories and information, but relax and listen to the questions that the legislator asks and stories that they might tell. Respond if you get asked a direct question. Feel free to go with the flow, but do make sure that you are keeping the conversation on the topic that you're there to discuss, which of course is the value of the arts and the need for investment or policy change. And also, after your meeting, tell Arts North Carolina about it, especially if it's with a North Carolina General Assembly member. Our website has this easy to use page where you can not only enter your name and the date of your meeting, but easy drop-down members for your county, as well as all of the legislators at the North Carolina General Assembly. And you can select different types of visits and then give us brief bullet-pointed comments so that we know, have that information to access so that we can continue to have a really great relationship at Arts North Carolina with your specific legislator. And finally, and this can really be considered the most important part of every meeting, is to remember that gratitude is the best attitude. Thank you, the legislator, for their time and their service at the end of that meeting. And then as soon as you get back to your office or to your home, sit down and write a nice handwritten thank you note. That's always the best way. A thank you letter can be great as well. If you have a lot to write, if you visited a lot of legislators, maybe you want to write one letter and then just change the name. It's really great to have that physical piece. A thank you note is going to sit on a desk a little longer. A letter, maybe not as long, but it'll have a physical presence. If all you have time is to jot off a quick thank you email, that is perfectly fine as well, but just doesn't have the same gravitas as a thank you note. But do follow up in an email maybe a few days later or later than that day summarizing the request and providing the backup materials. Maybe the materials that you brought with you and left behind, you have a digital copy or a website that you want to make sure that the legislator has, or that the legislator asked for more information about a specific request or topic or arts organization and their impact. So make sure that you're providing that information to the legislator in the follow-up as well. So those are the basics of having that conversation with your elected officials. And of course, Arts North Carolina is always here to help you have those conversations as well. Thank you so much for watching today.